You are now listening to the Lasting Legacy Podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. We have another episode of the Lasting Legacy Podcast. Before you watch this, please go and subscribe to our channel. It's like a little red button down below the video. 90% of you don't subscribe, and it makes David sad. He keeps calling me crying in the middle of the night because no one's subscribing. So please subscribe. Today, we have a very special guest. We have Tyler Shaun, owner, founder, producer of everything Jolly Mule Productions.
He practiced my name for like minutes before this.
You're a very special person. I didn't want to mess it up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's going on, man?
Oh, I just got back from New Orleans today. I was shooting big band out there. It's honestly one of the biggest like production weekends of my career thus far, and basically coming in on no sleep to make it back for this podcast because it's such high profile podcast, honestly.
Very prestigious. We're up here.
I knew I couldn't miss an opportunity. Like, it could be months before I got in again.
So very well could be, actually.
Hey,
You're not wrong there.
4 months strong.
No, that's
pretty
super awesome.
good.
So I appreciate the opportunity, y'all.
Well, thank you for making the trip. I know it wasn't easy.
Anytime.
Last night's travel was a little crazy with the snow, so
yeah,
you're here. That's all that matters. I'm David. I own David Took It, photography, videography, not to be confused with Jolly Mule, but second shoots for Jolly Mule if he needs it.
Cool. Weddings specifically I need. So,
specifically not weddings, but
not a lot of people doing weddings anymore.
Dude,
yeah.
You should be excited.
Yeah, actually I am excited.
You should be very ecstatic.
I definitely like to dance and cry, so weddings are where it's at for me.
That's even better. I hated crying. That's why I'm not shooting weddings anymore.
And charge more money.
Yeah. Yeah. If you want tears.
If less people are doing it,
it's a monopoly to me.
You're a higher commodity.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Let's get right into it.
Well, I don't know. How do we start? What do people usually start with? These type of things? I guess I could say I've been full freelance videography for like 4 years now, 5 years. We started Jolly Mule in 2018, and I was working as a cook, like during the day, doing my side hustle at night, mostly shooting for bands in the beginning. I was like music industry was where I lived at. But then eventually got to the point where I was working in the kitchen, I realized I couldn't be working on my side hustle, and my buddy Perry had moved here to start the business with me, and it was just like, shoot, we got to just go all in, and no regrets. Been full-time videographer ever since.
Where was that taking place at? Like, was that in Colorado?
That was in Pueblo. Yeah, yeah. So I'm originally from Pueblo. Perry moved from Iowa. We met out in Yosemite. We were working out there, and he was working 2 minimum wage, like shitty jobs back in Iowa, basically after that. And he was doing portrait photography. I was working bands, like videography and stuff like that. And we were like, we would love to open up a business, be able to travel more, have some like passive income too, and be able to do whatever we want, essentially. So
not a bad plan.
Self-employed, traveling production company is the way we decided to go about that, pretty much.
Well, that's huge. What did those early days look like, project wise? And
well, I'm sure you're gonna be able to relate to a lot of it. It's like nonstop hustle. We were doing a lot of door to door, just telling people we existed.
Door to door. You went door to door?
Like we're walking downtown. Like the first video I ever made was $50 for yogurt on Union. We walked in. We were like, "Hey, we make videos. Can we make you a video?" And he's like, "Yeah." And we made a Comcast commercial. Actually, our first video ever was a 30-second yogurt on Union, $50 video.
Dang.
Wait, you did it for $50?
Yeah, did it for $50.
Oh I mean,
we had never professionally made one for anybody before, besides bands that I'd done.
Mm-hmm.
Even like bands have no money. The bands I was shooting for at least didn't have like money to spend. So
no budget.
It was more like experience portfolio building.
Nice.
And that's how we started in the beginning. We did everything, like anything we could. And luckily, I've been pretty connected in town via college. My mom worked, she was the head of marketing at the college too. So I kind of already knew quite a bit of Pueblo people and people I could reach out to try to get going in the beginning. And Perry didn't know anybody. So I was kind of the one just rubbing up the jobs. He was definitely technically better than me. So I definitely want to capitalize on his knowledge. And my kind of just like personality skills helped out a lot with building the business in the beginning.
Most definitely.
Good collaboration.
Yeah. That's kind of like me and Brad. But
because he's the tech guy.
No, he was teaching me stuff, how to use my camera earlier.
I set this all up. Yeah.
Pretty much.
This is a net. and it deflects
it's
light.
it's a grid. It stops light spill.
He's talking about the grid on the big softbox light. That's lighting us, by the way.
Like in front of you from a flasher one.
I can't stand you. So, how did you and Perry meet?
Oh, so we both moved to Yosemite to work at a mountain resort at the same time. So he literally arrived the day after me. I had just finished college, was kind of didn't know what to do in my life. I came out with a mass comm degree, so I'd done radio, marketing, television stuff, but had no career in mind. Like I didn't know where to go from college. It was just kind of like school was a given. Like getting a degree was expected, you know. So it was like, oh, I did that. Now what? So I wanted to work for like hostels. I love traveling, and so I basically applied to a bunch on the West Coast, just trying to find a place to land, and luckily found this great resort, 20 miles outside of Yosemite. Went there, showed up, got moved into a 10 by 10 like yurt, and Perry showed up the next day, got moved into a small trailer, and we spent 6 months there working and going to the park every day. You know, just meeting international travelers. It's the most like photographed park in America too.
Absolutely, it's beautiful. I've never been.
So beautiful, and I didn't even own a camera at the time. Perry dropped his off of Glacier Point in Yosemite, which is like a sad thing to see.
Whoops.
Yeah, just crushing on the rocks below. It's like, oh, that's sad.
So what'd you guys do at that job?
So he worked. He was the front for the cafe.
Okay.
Which was like the easiest job in the world. He didn't even have to serve people, and he got majority of the tips. And then I was front desk because I was so personable, and so any problem that came, I was customer service, you know, and I was the person to get people in the rooms. Something bad happens, they come to me. I'm the one that fixes it.
Fires,
yeah. And I was like the nighttime guy, so I get all the guests, all the problems. I was having anxiety attacks before I even went into work. You know, most of the time, like for stuff that was going to go wrong. But then once we finished our 6 months, we went to Asia, traveled for 2 or 3 months. Perry's much worse at budgeting than I am, so he made it like 2 weeks and ran out of money. Flew home. I did like 2.5 months before I flew back. He went back to Iowa, went back to Colorado, and then, like I said, I got him to move out maybe like 6 months after that, start the business.
So, tell me about like your first encounter with like photography and videography. Like, when did you first pick up a camera?
I first bought a camera when I moved back to Pueblo after Asia, because I went and saw my friend's band at the time was Beyond Bridges, which is Tony, the owner of Brews, Ado, who's my good friend. I went and saw them play, and I'd seen them maybe a year or two before when they were just getting started, you know, and they were just getting started. Yeah. But then I saw them again, and they had really invested in their production. They improved their skills. They were much better, and I was like, shoot, like I'd like to make videos for these guys. So I bought, you know, a $300 Lumix G7 and started shooting. The point and shoot, right? Yeah. The YouTuber special? Yeah, kind of, yeah. And so and for that next 6 months, I was literally I was probably shooting 4 or 5 concerts a week. Oh, wow. You know, for no money. Basically just shooting for any bands, trying to get bigger bands, bigger venues. They were playing a lot of different venues in Springs, Denver, and stuff like that. So that's where I just got like my experience with the camera. Other than that, before I'd made videos of my travels and stuff like that. I did 3 months like backpack in Europe and stuff, and just phone videos. Like they're crap videos looking back at them now, of course. But it's the memory, you know. Yeah, but I'd always like, I guess through high school, college, I'd enjoyed making like iMovie videos or like with your phone, whatever it may be. But I never really invested in doing it until I started shooting for bands. So that's where it started in the beginning. That's awesome. You started with the concert and music industry, and then where did that kind of transition into? So that we ended up getting commercial jobs, obviously, like when we were searching around trying to make just commercials for businesses and stuff like that. And then we ended up landing some like government jobs, working for like Metro District, things like that. Eventually led to me doing a bunch of tourism stuff for Pueblo. So I did all these Pueblo videos for horseback riding, kayaking, you know, canoeing. Got to do a lot of cool stuff like wakeboarding, all that kinds of stuff. I was reaching out to Instagrammers when I was going to different cities. So I shot like the #2 freestyle soccer player in California or in the world, Caitlin Schrepfer at the time. Like I was in LA for a couple of days, you know, just messaged her on Instagram. Wanted to get some creative stuff too.
Social media is so cool for that.
Yeah, it was really. She was like, "Yeah, I've actually seen your stuff." I don't know if she was lying to me or not. Like if she had actually seen my pictures before. She just gassed you up. But she was like, "Yeah," she was like, "I'd love to meet up and shoot some stuff." So it was a mix of everything. I mean, again, you could probably relate to the freelance world is our skills apply to every industry.
Absolutely.
Basically, like we're needed anywhere, which is really cool because then you get to work with a ton of different people, a ton of different industries.
The ball's in our court at that point,
yeah.
Especially with travel and meeting new people. Recently, there was a racquetball tournament locally. I snapped a few photos. The next day I woke up to a text from, one of the top racquetball players in the world saying, "Hey, let's work." And I went and did the same thing the next day for payment. Like we were trying to get them on the podcast. That will probably happen, hopefully when they come back. But you just never know at this point, reaching out and being that personable, kind of person. And obviously your work kind of speaks for itself as well, where people are willing to take that risk on you.
And I don't know, what's your opinion on like free work?
Obviously it gets you places. Kenny is very passionate about his free work and where it's
Kenny
gotten
G
him.
Films.
Kenny G Films. Shout out to the homie. Check out his episode.
Check out last week's episode.
Yeah, last week's episode. Back to
streaming
back
on
creatives.
YouTube.
Streaming on
Apple,
YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you get your podcast.
Thank you. But in the beginning, a lot of it was free. And I still do free work, but it's more of I want to test this lighting situation. So I'm going to call somebody that I know is comfortable in front of the camera. So there's no other, testing, and I genuinely call upon clients that have booked with me because, that's my thanks for, keeping up with me and, staying with me. But I'm a fan of it, but you have to know when to stop.
Definitely. Definitely. Like setting boundaries. That's been like a big goal the last year for me is
absolutely.
Used to say yes to everything, and now I'd probably say no to 80% of the jobs that come my way now.
Absolutely.
Because I want specific type of jobs, and that's like something I've tried to identify since, I went back to self-employed in October, probably. I was working for a marketing company for a year before that. I went back to self-employed, and I told myself, I was like, I'm just going to work the jobs that I want, So if I'm doing free work, it's specifically to lead into the work that I want.
Absolutely.
So, I'll shoot some free sports stuff because I want to convince a club or a team to, hey, I can, for the next couple months, I can be that guy that makes all your content.
That would be awesome.
I'll show you a preview of what it could look like, type deal.
No,
So
that's huge, man. And it's cool, like basketball games, soccer games, things that you're already genuinely into, and now you get to showcase both of your worlds colliding, and hopefully leads to a monetary, event later,
Yeah, and I think it was hard to you're trying to separate personal and business a lot of the time.
So hard.
But I found my strength was I make great videos about the places I personally like to spend time. So right now I'm doing stuff for my yoga studio. I do stuff for some high school sports teams that I help out with because at my gym, that's where I spend all my time. Not only do I know everybody, but I know how the place functions. I know a lot about the business, and it makes my work a lot better when people are comfortable with me already, being there. Because, tons of people are super uncomfortable, being on camera a lot of the time, or, it's their first time meeting you when you come to do a job, unless you had, one consultation before that.
Of course,
but,
yeah. Usually not.
Yeah, but, in Pueblo, it's when you know a lot of people and you've been friends with people for a long time, and they see you every Sunday because you go to this event, and they see you on Tuesdays because you do these things. It just makes the whole transaction a lot easier.
Absolutely.
It's a very common theme, too, is when you start a business, you do quantity over quality. You take what you can because you got to pay the bills. And then we've talked about it probably 3 or 4 different episodes. Eventually, as you grow, you weed out and you start doing quality in the sense of clients you want to work with, projects you want to do, and stuff like that. It's very common in business. What I've learned from doing this podcast.
But I'm actually very appreciative now because people understand my quality now, so a lot of the time they come to me and they're like, don't do this for free, please.
No, yeah, absolutely.
You need to be paid for this, and I'm like, thank you for saying that, because I don't want to say it,
it's awkward.
Yeah, but now that I've established myself, in a way, it's people, especially now, having a good website, especially for weddings, people just go to my website and there's no negotiation, it's just this is what I charge because you see the quality of the product, and they're we don't want to hire somebody who's going to mess up. So
absolutely. There's no redos on that.
No, definitely not. And those are the nerve-wracking ones. You got one shot to shoot something, but
for me, I find it, I don't know if you do as well, when people are like, I'm such a big fan. And I'm like, oh, don't tell me that, because now the pressure has just been added.
Set a bar.
Yeah. It's me versus me all the time. But man, when somebody says, like, oh, we're a big fan, we've been following your work for 2 years, and you're like, man, it's a little bright out here, like I could use some overcast.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, these aren't ideal conditions for me right now.
I get that all the time. People coming in, they're like, dude, I've seen what you've done with these tax returns.
And and your TikToks too.
Autographs now.
All the time.
People are coming in asking me for autographs.
They've probably heard about your racquetball skills.
Well, and I don't know if anybody knows, but Brad also owns this, this facility that we're in right now. Like, he's
the whole building.
I mean,
he's kind of a big deal. In his last office, it smelled like old people in that building. So
I was literally there like a week ago, and I was like, it smells like old people in this building. I'm so glad I moved.
All the pictures are on the wall, in fact. But
anyway,
you cut these things out, right?
Sorry about that. Oh no, we're rolling
we'll
it.
Keep it
Keep it alive.
Cool.
So what is, you said you worked for a marketing company, and then now you are back to freelancing. What did that transition look like from
going from freelance to job back to freelance?
Well,
did you ever quit freelancing?
Yes. Well, I didn't take jobs freelancing because I would have felt like
conflict of
bad.
interest.
Yeah, I would have felt bad about like taking jobs outside of my full-time job, which was the same job essentially. But choosing to go from self-employed originally to working for a marketing company was probably really COVID related a lot of the way. And Perry, who I started my business with, the last time we were in Asia, he met an actress from London. Started flying out every 2 weeks to see her in London. Then COVID hits, and right before the border shut down, he's basically like, Tyler, I'm going to go stay in her like family's $1 million country home in London instead of like in your mom's basement with you in Pueblo.
Come on, bro.
You know?
You're gonna do that to me?
I don't live in my mom's basement anymore. But
congratulations.
Thanks. But I was like, cool, fair enough, And so he left, and I was basically we had all these contracts that we were working like for the city, and I basically finished those out over the next 6 months on my own. And I was honest, I just missed having a team. Like I was successful as a freelancer, no doubt, but I was just tired not having people around, and
it's hard.
And then this big opportunity, the company I started working for was Wake Up Pueblo, which for those watching, all started from Discovery Channel, does this show called Undercover Billionaire, where they drop a billionaire off in a city, and he has 90 days to make $1 million business. So Grant Cardone, big real estate mogul, got dropped off in Pueblo of all places, and had a goal, started $1 million business, in a couple months. He ends up meeting Matt Smith, who's a big serial entrepreneur, is kind of what he's coined as here in Pueblo. And he's somebody I had worked for before. I'd made commercials for his business, Snap Fitness, out in Pueblo West and stuff like that. And he reached out to me to come check out the big project. Essentially, I'd actually almost been like involved before because I'm on the Pueblo Film Commission. I'm on the board for that. And so the Discovery Channel had asked me to come be on the crew for the show because they were looking for local people to fill the teams. And I was they were paying $12 an hour for $12 days, or for 12-hour days, And I was working a third of that time, making twice as much, I'd
like to know how much they're making per commercial when they air that show after paying everyone $100 a day.
So I was kind of like, I'm cool, like it's a good opportunity, but I don't really need that,
Is it a good opportunity? I don't know. But anyway.
But anyways, Matt brings me into the building, and he essentially was like, we're trying to build this great space for creatives to have one place to work in Pueblo and, make this thing happen. It was literally like a jump out of the airplane, build the parachute on the way down type of scenario. And like I said, I wanted to have a team. He'd hired like people that I would have hired. Jared Young was like one of his first hires. Who would have been my first hire.
Absolutely.
And I was like, shoot, I'll hop in and try to create opportunity for creatives in the future of this town. And then I ended up, it was a year of commercial corporate work for the most part, which is what I decided to give up before honestly taking the job. And then I jumped into taking 10 times as much commercial corporate work. And part of my position was also like community outreach because I was a very community involved guy. So I was trying to set up opportunities. I was mostly setting up like a lot of free videos for small businesses in town, which doesn't really translate into profit for a business that's trying to like be nationwide. Type of deal. My first day was like flying out to Miami, to shoot Grant Cardone's team and meet these millionaires telling me all this stuff. And I don't know. I worked it for a year, like 80-hour weeks, probably 70-hour weeks, 80-hour weeks, and I don't know. I needed a good mental, physical reboot. So in October, like I had knee surgery, and so left the job just so I could focus on recovery. Honestly, and I was pretty burnt out, I would say, in a lot of ways. So
Absolutely.
I needed time to come back, essentially. So
Yeah, I mean, you started shooting because of like concerts and music, and knowing what you just got back from, which we'll get into, like you're kind of back into that, and so going to that kind of job, you kind of moved far away from what started your passion, almost, it seems like.
Yeah, in a lot of ways. And I mean, I'm super appreciative of the experience, because no doubt, like technically, like I improved so much, I think, in the last year, especially because I'm surrounded by, I worked with 7-8 different videographers who all different skill sets, all different types, not all different types of cameras, but different types of gear. And we were shooting 3 months of content in a day for clients type of stuff. Like we're shooting 6 hours, 7 hours to knock out huge portions of content. I'm managing teams of videographers, which I came in telling them I wanted to work for like Vice News and stuff like that, and they're like, well, you'll get great experience managing teams of people, like that's gonna be a great thing for your resume to work into jobs like that. So it was a really experience based opportunity that I took on with that type of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when that was all circulating around, it was right around the time when I had made my jump, a little over a year ago now. And everyone was, tagging every creative that you knew in the ad for come work for Wake Up, come work for Wake Up. And it just never appealed to me personally, because I was like, there's no way they're going to pay me what I'm getting paid by other clients. You know what I mean?
You're like barely had your feet wet
in
the freelance side of it anyway.
Yeah, I was... I had 6 weddings booked, and there was nothing else on my books, and I was like, I think I'm gonna go with my gut and say no on this one.
Well, let me tell you, you're not the only one. Like it was,
of course.
It's honestly, it's the most heavily criticized like position I've ever worked in terms of like, heavily criticized company I've ever worked for, which is a whole nother thing. Like, and working customer service before.
You already knew.
For like, I am not down to deal with.
You're getting flashbacks to the front desk
that don't have good experiences. Like a lot of the time. So. It was basically I took all the job titles that I didn't like prior
put
to
it
like
into
working,
one, and then worked 80 hours a week for a year.
But I'll happily say like we definitely developed like great systems for people to get a good experience and to provide like good product to a lot of different businesses. Yeah. And now they're going like they basically mostly take on nationwide clients now, which is awesome. Like a lot of the videography teams are like they're in South Carolina this week. They're going to a different state almost every week, which was also a big appeal to me, is like the ability to travel and stuff like that. But I like to travel for work that I want to do a lot of times. And again, that's not like a commercial corporate type of base. So this last weekend I flew into New Orleans to shoot my favorite band, essentially, which is like the biggest band I've ever shot. That's and it's just like a good feel. It's like a very validating feeling to be in a conversation at a bar and be like, oh yeah, I'm actually here for work for the weekend, which is total manifestation in my mind. Like I had heard the band play maybe like 3 years prior, and I was like, I would love to shoot for this band one day. And now a lot of work and a lot of experience later, it's kind of made it all happen.
And it's kind of come full circle from the very beginning of what got you into, this passion. It's really come full circle. And
back to like boundaries and choosing my projects was, again, something like as an employee, you don't get to choose the work a lot of the time. No. It's like you work the job, you don't pick the job. And so I was really looking forward to picking my own jobs again and like setting the boundaries to say no and choosing the ones I want to say yes to. So I'm super thankful for being self-employed again.
It's a really good feeling. I'm telling you, it feels like all the weight and stress kind of goes away, but then there's new different stressors and new weight that does get added, but it's never as heavy for me.
Yeah, well, then you guys know as like self-employed, just like making sure that you're being productive most days is, I think, the hardest part of being self-employed.
I've never worked a full-time job in my life besides for myself, so it's kind of
that's nice.
Yeah, it's
you
weird.
Can't, so you can't relate to.
I have no comparison. I have no comparison. I guess you know what I mean. I really never have worked 40 hours for anybody but myself.
No,
but the thought of it scares me. So I know if I didn't want to work 20 hours for somebody, I just knew in my head there's no way I could work 40 hours or 60 hours for somebody a week. You know what I mean?
Yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
What would you think would be a reason that you would go work for somebody else?
I don't know.
what would it take?
Fat check.
But if it's mindless bookkeeping for a fat check, would you do it?
I'd do a fat check for like a year and come back. I mean,
if Jay-Z wants you to run his books,
Yeah, I mean, well, that'd be probably kind of cool, I guess. I don't know. I don't know.
That's what I'm saying.
People have asked me that before. They're like, if someone offered you this, would you do this? And in my head, like, if in a real world I could take a job for a year and then just start this company again, I would do it. But it would, I don't know. It would be weird to give up all that freedom.
Yeah.
I can go to all my son's doctor's appointments. I could do whatever I want mostly, and work when I want.
Everyone talks about financial freedom, but it really comes down to time freedom, because that is the one thing you can't get back. Yeah. So for me, that it's hard to put a price tag on that now.
Time's more valuable.
Like, I mean, I love the fact that somebody can call me up on a Wednesday and ask me if I want to get lunch, and
let's do it.
I can clear my schedule to do that, like no problem type of deal. And when you talk about like starting your business again, one thing I wish I would have known before I started I wish I would have known I was going to start Jolly Mule before I went to college. Because, like, I went into college not knowing what I wanted to do, and then came out of college not knowing what I wanted to do, when really I wish I would have started the business, come into college, taken business classes to build a business, I would have taken everything to build the business, essentially, and it would have been 4 years well invested, rather than, like, 4 years for me to get a piece of paper that said I got some experience.
Basically. Experience that most people don't really care about in the real world.
Yeah, like my professors from college laugh at me because they're like, we didn't teach you any of these things in college.
My professors in college literally told me they don't think I'm smart enough to be an accountant.
Shout out to those guys.
Look at you now.
It cracks me up, man. I know. I did learn stuff in college, but like a small fraction of it, because I don't know, maybe 8 classes in 4 years were accounting classes. Everything else I didn't really care about. And so many people are just like, oh, well, I graduated, now I'll go to college. And it's the same thing like you said. You go in not knowing, you come out not knowing. Yeah. I had like 200 plus interview or application rejections when I graduated. You know what I mean? And the way I got started with this company was my mom knew somebody at her shop.
That's what it comes down to, always, no matter what.
Yeah,
that's how I got my government job, same thing.
Pretty crazy.
When I was making conscious decisions to save money even through college, though. Like, I wasn't, I wanted to go to a D1 school, but it essentially came down to like experience over education. Like, I felt like you get the same education at most schools you went to, but you're paying to go to school with like 30,000 kids that there's activities happening like all the time.
Yeah.
So it was either like go to KU for $30,000 a semester, or stay in Pueblo and go for $5,000 a semester and get a degree at a school that has a great program. Come out with no debt, and that's what I did. I came out with like no debt compared to like when we first started the business. Perry was paying probably $1,500 a month in student loans.
Oh my god!
So that's what we had. That was the bare minimum we had to make, was to pay his student loans. Compared to me, I had no debt at all. Like I still have almost like no expenses for the most part in comparison to most people. Yeah, but that's like been total conscious sacrifice in a lot of ways. I suppose the only stuff I really spend money on is my camera gear.
So many people sacrifice their time freedom and their financial freedom for a car payment, and it was mind blowing.
Yeah, I just got out of mine, so shout out me.
So many, seriously, so many people will spend $800 a month on a car payment.
Not even flinch.
Yeah,
I had the dirtiest windshield driving down today. Like my wipers aren't working. Like my gas cap's sitting out, and I could care less because I can pack my gear in a lockbox in the back, and that's all I really need.
You're traveling a lot this year, so I didn't even know if you. Honestly, I was like, I wonder if he even has a car. I was like, well, should I Uber him here? I was like, I don't know. Like, he's probably going to be in Pueblo for like 7 months.
It's funny, actually, when I bought my truck, the plates still aren't even in my name. Because I bought the truck and the plates were good till 2022.
I'm going to just ride it out.
So I bought it 4 years ago, and they're about to expire next month. I'm debating if I
That's why you're supposed to take your plates when you sell your cars, people.
Fun facts, business rules here. But no, it's like, I made like credit decisions in this last year to make the trips happen. Like I got a Chase Sapphire card because I was having this big expensive knee surgery. So Chase offers, if you spend $5,000 in your first 3 months, you get $1,200 in travel credit. So basically, all my European flights were paid by the fact that I had knee surgery.
That's cool, yeah.
Might as well make the best of the poor American medical system.
Exactly. So it's like I right now I'm only taking work that I need to take to hit my budget for my trips.
That's awesome.
You know, so it's like I set like a travel budget that I need to have this much money when I go. So that dictates how much work I need to take, how much I can say no to, how much I need to say yes to. You know, maybe I do a couple jobs I don't enjoy because I want to make a little extra money so I can spend the next month doing stuff I do enjoy. You know, those are all conscious decisions.
And that's something you don't get to decide unless you own a business.
Exactly.
Absolutely. No, that's crazy. That's an interesting way to think about the jobs that you take, you know, based off of, you know, the experiences that you are going to have in the future. I never really thought about things like that. So that's super interesting.
Well, that's what, like, again, I mean, it came down to, like, I've traveled so much that, like, I understand that you have to have certain stuff set up. You know, like, I have backup plan. I have a savings account in case, like, I run out of money, like, worst case scenario, something happens. But I a lot of the time, like, I'm trying to book gigs in cities I'm already planning to go to. So it's like, I want to go to San Francisco next month. Here's the dates I got set. Now I'm going to look for work in San Francisco to pay for my trip.
That's smart,
a lot of the time. Just because that's how it's kind of turned out.
And if the IRS asks, you already made those. That's why you're going to San Francisco. Then you can write it off.
Exactly. If they're watching right now, I mean...
Shout out to the IRS.
I definitely worked
number
the book
5.
before. I know a good accountant. I know the best accountant, actually.
That's right.
So if my books are messed up, it's because of him.
No, that's great, man. Ever since I switched to H&R Block, everything's been like super good. Just kidding.
Anyway, Tyler, what would you charge me to run some monthly stuff here? Because I'm looking for a new video artist.
You know, actually, I'm saying a no to a lot of things lately. I don't know. It's
I kind of need something a little more creative than an accountant talking about taxes. Sorry.
And there's some names in the community you just have to cut off. You know, like you got to blacklist some people, and there's. You know, you're one of them, Brad. Like, every videographer in town knows, like, don't call Brad.
Yeah, no, I know. And that's why I'm starting this TikTok so I can get out of here and find some real
you're well on your way.
You know?
You're well on your way.
So, can you tell us, you recently received an award, your 40 Under 40 award. Can you elaborate on that?
So that was like it was a very validating thing for me in a lot of ways. We're talking, validation's kind of becoming a recurring theme, I guess, in this. I was most proud of it because I was a self-employed freelancer. I think like most people were tied to like big companies, you know, and they're in important positions with a lot of responsibilities. Like power to everybody in the group was like it was very cool to be surrounded by a bunch of young, successful people. But being like a freelancer, individual freelancer, it was like a great sign of respect from a lot of people in a lot of ways. I'd worked in so many different industries as you do as well. And it was a cool like acknowledgement. It was a cool head nod from all those people that like, this guy's hustling really hard. He's been progressing a lot. He works, you know, he's been working his butt off. Yeah. And in itself, that makes you, you know, like a role model in a lot of ways for a lot of people. And that's what the award was for me, was like an acknowledgement of being a role model, I guess, in a lot of ways. Or
positive figure.
Yeah,
nice.
Exactly. And that's what I was like so proud of. Is
definitely well deserved.
Because it was what, like 40 people under 40 that are like community leaders.
Yeah, and it was only like the second time they'd given the award. So, you know, top 80 under 40 people in Pueblo. I don't know if you guys heard or anything.
A lot of people.
Yeah,
last census, a lot of people.
Don't worry. I told you, I honestly, I'll be nominating both you guys for next year. So.
Yeah, that's
nice.
Cool.
Thank you.
Dang, I gotta lose weight. I gotta write my speech.
They don't let you give a speech. Don't worry.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's a lot.
I gave one. But they didn't ask me to.
Me and David are gonna just shoot our own speeches.
Everybody wants to know what would happen if we didn't win. I guess we'll never know.
Well, and you'll hate the lighting in there too. So
even better, I'll bring my own. Be like, I heard I'm getting an award, and I'm just gonna set up LEDs and nice fall off.
Take them down when the next person comes up.
Fuck that dude. Should have hired me.
But no, that was honestly, it was a cool resume builder. I guess in the end.
Yeah, no, it was super cool. I remember seeing it, and I always thought like that was really cool for them to recognize you for doing something like that.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, that's super awesome.
Well, like I said, I think that means it's in your guys' future too. So.
Yeah, most definitely. I appreciate that.
Yeah, we can all sit in a room one day and
just all
put it on the table.
Did they give you anything like a?
Yeah, no, it was like this cool like wooden plaque.
Yeah,
that said 40 under 40, my name carved into it.
Yeah,
from a local spot here in town. I can't remember the name of it, but
you're top 80, so me and David won't even be top 100. So they'll probably give us something a little less.
Well, nice, I'm sure some will die off, like no doubt. You know, like
statistically speaking,
yeah, not of old age or anything like that, but
just gonna happen.
Something's gonna happen.
So I We've kind of been all over the place. But I know you have like a crazy schedule this year. So I was wondering if you could go through your schedule a little bit of like some of the cool projects that you have coming up and some of the cool stuff you're doing personally too, because I know you're doing a lot of cool stuff personally and business wise.
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk about my project. My main project I've been working on for the last few months is when I had knee surgery. Like I was sad. It's my second time having ACL surgery. So I was sad the first time I didn't document like anything that had happened, and it was like a very transformational time like in my life, was going through all this physical, mental retransformation again. I'm lacking on words, but I wanted to film as much of it as possible this time and make myself like a beacon of hope, I guess, for people in the future. So I had my surgery filmed, like literally had doctor camera inside my knee, like drilling. And I've been interviewing my doctors, PTs, health experts, like all along the way, and also making myself like a guinea pig to different treatments, mental, spiritual, psychological, psychedelic, like I'll expose myself to all those kind of things.
Just dropping acid, hoping to fix it.
No, acid's not natural. Don't do that. Okay.
All right. Some ayahuasca.
So upcoming next month.
Have you tried DMT?
Wrong podcast.
Which podcast is this? Yeah. Which podcast are we on? I know another local podcast. This would be a really great conversation for. But next month I pick up a Sprinter van in about 3 weeks.
Nice.
And I'll be in that for a whole month.
Hashtag van life.
Yeah, van life, exactly, on the West Coast, which is actually, it's Perry's van. Like him and his fiance bought it. His fiance bought it. Perry has no money.
Come on.
Shut up, Perry.
Come on, Perry.
But he's running the business. He's running the business. Shout out to him. But I'm taking their van to the West Coast. I'll be in that for a month, and along the way, I'm shooting a couple festivals for the California Honeydrops, which is the band I just shot in New Orleans. I'm gonna go do some like Wim Hof training, which I don't know if you know who Wim Hof is. He's famous for he climbed Mount Everest with no shirt on because he does breathing exercises and ice baths to control his internal body temperature. So I'm gonna go do a little bit of that training with that with like a certified instructor out in Oregon. Maybe go talk to like a mushroom expert at University of like Oregon about benefits of psychedelics, stuff like that. After I do the month traveling, then I'll be in Boston for a week, then fly to London from there because flights are much cheaper from the East Coast than they are from the Midwest. Fun facts, travel hacks. I'll be in London for maybe like 3 or 4 days, and then I gotta go to Thailand to pick up Perry's wedding gifts. They ordered these handcraft. I don't know if I should say. I don't know if I should publicly say what the gifts are.
You don't have to.
They
ordered.
So they ordered.
It's just drugs from Thailand.
They ordered this stuff from Thailand. They ordered this stuff from Thailand that can't be shipped out, but somebody can go put it in a suitcase and take it back. So
you're the mule.
So best man
You're the
duties.
Jolly Mule.
I'm the Jolly Mule. Exactly. Pun totally there. I'm gonna go to Thailand for maybe 2 weeks. Do like a yoga retreat. Pick up the package.
Secure the package.
Secure the package. Bring it back to the UK. Literally the day after I fly back to the UK, I fly back to Colorado because I'm shooting Red Rocks for the Honeydrops. So I'll fly in for a week just to shoot the show, maybe like a wedding or something like that. Fly back out to London. Then we have a bachelor's party, which I'm also not going to mention the location of because Perry doesn't know that. I was about to slip it out.
Shout out Bangkok.
We've had some times in Bangkok. But we'll have a bachelor's party in a unannounced location. Perry gets married in London in July, and then I'm filming all this. This is all going to be a part of like my series of transformation and health and stuff like that. And it'll end with me doing a 100-mile hike across Italy. Is my plan, which is called the Alta Via 2. It goes across the Dolomites. It's like 8 to 10 days. You do 8 to 12 miles a day. I'm taking like 40 pounds of camera gear with me, so I'm like going to the gym with this pack on the Stairmaster, just like sweating it out, basically trying to train for that. And my knees like still trying to reboot from all that. And then basically right after I finish the hike, fly back, and it's wedding season. And I have like probably like 10 weddings booked for the fall already. So
sounds terrible.
So that's like the next 4 or 5 months. Is like filming all of this stuff I'm doing. I don't know, like
holy hard drives.
Crazy.
Yeah. Oh, dude, that's a whole nother thing. And like,
yeah, no, absolutely.
And travel insurance and all my gear, because I travel with like expensive. My camera gear is expensive, and like there's a reason it never leaves my back, but it's also
we don't
like
check that.
Never
check that.
No, never check that. No doubt. Like I'll check some lights and stuff like that, but cameras are right here. So
that's awesome.
So with those weddings, like with Jolly Mule, are you gonna be shooting them all personally? Or are you trying to like grow the team since Perry's gone?
Yeah. So majority of them I'm shooting personally, and I'll hire like seconds and stuff like that. But like David can relate with this. Everybody's booking weddings the exact same days apparently. So
September 3rd every year. I swear it's the most sought after date ever. And you have to kind of like look at the times. Like this year it was like 2-2-2-2. Like all those weird, what are they called, anagrams or whatever. Yeah, like those weird dates. But what I'm bringing to the table now, luckily, is like because I have so much like business experience or administrative experience at the least part, is like I can handle like setting up freelance videographers to basically represent me at a bunch of different weddings at the same time. So like I'm definitely trying to be active in hiring all these local guys and setting them up and handling contracts, administrative stuff, so that they go in. I'm confident in their ability to do a good job, but I can handle the administrative side of things. So yeah, like I booked 2 weddings for Perry. Like he'll be flying in just for a reason to have a trip and to shoot a couple weddings, make some money. Yeah. I get to make a little money off the top on those stuff just for like handling all the stuff, and then we can handle like three weddings in a weekend with like how the team's kind of developing now. That's good. That's huge.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I don't think people realize how huge that is, but
yeah. So for people that don't work like a lot of videography, photography, weddings are definitely some of the best, consistently high-paying jobs to be able to book.
Absolutely.
And it just happens to help that I love shooting weddings. Like I love. It's in my contract that we have to dance. There has to be an open bar. No, but we have to have a good time. And like now that I have like a template down for how we have to handle a day and how we do an edit, it's so simplified for me, and it brings such comfort to the client too.
Absolutely.
To be able to come in and just rock it out. So definitely like, after wedding season, it's kind of just like I don't have any plans, and luckily like because of wedding season and my travels, like I'm not financially worried either. Like I'll be able to take opportunity if it comes. I'll be able to find work as well.
Yeah.
And I'll probably I'll build up the savings a bit too in the time. So I'm blessed to be stressed in many ways.
Yeah, no, that's huge. It's really cool that you guys can, build that team. That was, one of my biggest struggles, and something that I was like, I don't really care to do that, but there is a monetary compensation on the back end that does make it worth it, and it does make it really intriguing. But like you said, being able to handle that admin side of things, there are business owners, and then, there's tattooers. There's tattooers that should not be business owners, vice versa. Same thing with photo video. There are people who can tell a hell of a story through photos and video, but they cannot run a business.
And they have no desire to.
Exactly.
A lot of the time, they want to be creatives. That's like what they want to do. I get it. I totally relate. But I also know the benefits of like being able to monetarily progress,
absolutely.
Like, and if I can help people do that, then I'll happily be the boss.
Yeah.
And the more money you make, really, the more creative you can get too. I think a lot of people don't really think about that. Mm-hmm. They just like, no, I want to be creative. Money's evil, blah, blah, blah.
Well, and I'm like, man, money can provide you like tons of opportunity,
Absolutely.
And being used to being able to handle money can provide you tons of opportunity. So like essentially as a boss, like I'm providing opportunity for not only myself, of course, like building a business, but for future work for all these people who don't necessarily know how to get it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a cool like role model thing as a business owner that people can realize is like you're just creating opportunity for all these other people.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I love to see friends get successful, especially like Jared Young was like. He was like, I don't know if I want to be a full-time Jolly Mule employee, this and this. And I was like, dude, I'm not asking you to be full-time. I was like, you're freelance. I was like, you can say no to anything you want.
1099. We're not set up for that.
I was like, you got freedom of time, man, and choice. Like, that's the joy of being self-employed is you can literally choose how your life's going to go over the next weeks, months, whatever. Mm-hmm. You can say no to what you want. You can do whatever you want as long as you can monetarily support yourself or set a budget that you need to have to live,
Mm-hmm.
And it's up to you.
He's
like
young. He should be all right.
Exactly. Yeah, he should be fine. And the kid's a prodigy, so
absolutely,
he's gonna be able to do whatever he wants one day. But again, it's like showing people they have the freedom of choice, whether it becomes the business, life, whatever it is. Manifest destiny.
Once you make that jump,
Yeah, yeah. And not having the fear to make the jump, like it's
That's it.
It's full bliss once you do.
Absolutely.
A lot of times the fears are rational. There's not really much of a risk there a lot of times.
Yeah, or from outside, voices.
People who
coming at
don't
you.
understand, when I was about to quit my job, they were like, well, they're always hiring here. And it's like, my plan B is to make my plan A work, and it's not to come back to this place. Like, I'm just going to double down. I'll keep shooting weddings. I'll shoot funerals at that point, like outside of big funerals. But
And worst case scenario, you could always go back.
Yeah.
People that are like
worst
working in a
case.
job, like, I don't like this job. I'm gonna go do this. Well, it's like, worst case scenario is you just go back to the job you hate.
Yeah.
You're not. You don't go backwards. You just stay where you're at.
Yeah, absolutely. You take all that knowledge, and you could, worst case scenario, you could go back, but that's not the goal.
It's like when I started solo backpacking, traveling, because I'd been asking people to do it for a while. Who wants to come with me? Oh, we don't have the budget. We don't have the time. We can't do this, can't do that. And eventually I was just like, all right, I'm just going to go on my own and do it. And they would be like, well, haven't you seen Hostel? Haven't you seen these movies? All these terrible things happen. And I'm like, we live in the most dangerous country in the world. I was like, worst case, I just come back here, like I come back to prison,
Exactly.
But, and then I started traveling, and then, next thing you know, people are like, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, I bought the ticket, and
did what I said I was going to do.
got on the
fuck
plane.
it.
I set my intention. I just started working towards it, and now here we are on a mountaintop, like when I started the hike way down there in the valley type of deal. So
started from the bottom, now we're here.
yep, exactly.
Dang. What are some of your goals, short, medium, and long term for you personally and professionally?
For this year, definitely one of them was to like tour with a band, like a big band, which I'm happy to say I'm pretty much like accomplishing. I get to go to like Tahoe, Santa Barbara, New Orleans, Red Rocks, like all with the same band, which has definitely been a big career goal in my life, accomplishing that. I would love to write a book, about like experiences, which that's more of a personal goal, is just put down my life a little bit, like have the documentation in a lot of ways. Living in a different country. And these are all things that I think that like my career has the ability to provide these opportunities for me. So it's
forward progression.
Yeah.
Naturally.
So it's really like, get technically better, understand the jobs that I want to work, choose those ones, say no to the ones I don't want to. And honestly, I'm a total like free form, like I'm prepared for the next life at any moment type of deal, which is hard for a lot of people. But, I don't have like deep roots in terms of a lot of things that I have cheap expenses. I have the ability to change my life format at any given time in a lot of ways. So for now, like I'm in my late 20s, so I'm really open to whatever next opportunities come my way. I want to make, honestly, like one of my big goals is to make a semi-pro like soccer career kind of happen. I would love to. I got 3 or 4 years to still do it, so that's also what I'm training for, to get my knee back to strength. I would love to try to play for a team, contribute to a team in a beneficial way. And if I can also be their social media manager at the same time, like I'll knock it out.
I wouldn't hate it.
Two birds with one stone. But that's really all I have for now. It's like what a time to be alive, I think, for
Honestly.
me, and what opportunity. Like I don't want to close myself into any parameters that force me to not be able to do things that I want. So yeah, I'm open to the world.
I love that. Those are great goals. We do have a reoccurring question on the show, which kind of ties into your goals. But what do you want your lasting legacy to be?
I think I was trying to think about this before. I was like,
Some people are like, what?
what have been some?
Why would you ask me that?
What are some of the answers? What are the other answers been? What's your guys' lasting legacy?
We don't have to answer with the host, but I don't know.
But I'd love to talk. So
Yeah, I don't know. A lot of people just being kind, giving, be teachers. A lot of people have mentioned how they want to give back and teach, and from their experiences, stuff like that. So,
if I'm going to be all philosophical with it, I would be like, I want to be a representative of someone who can turn imagination into reality. Like a lot of the goals I set, people think are like movies. Like, oh yeah, we only see that fantasy life type deal. But I didn't. And same thing with having idols. It's like once you realize your idols are just normal people too,
Takes away the magic.
Then but it also sets a staircase for you to reach their level. Like I think any great accomplishment can be reached if you realize it's just steps to get there. So if I can be representative of like setting these grandiose goals that I can accomplish just because I have the mindset and the tenacity to do it like that, I think that's a good lasting legacy.
Yeah,
you know, like
absolutely.
I think that's a pretty good motto to live by in a lot of ways. So
yeah, no. Most
So if you were doing
definitely
a non-philosophical one, what would it be?
it's like nobody's ever been asked this twice.
Can you give me another example of a non-philosophical?
Oh, I just want to be rich and fucking have a Lamborghini.
I don't know. Live life carefree and. I don't know. See, I'm gonna get philosophical.
Sounds philosophical.
It's like, I'm gonna get like philosophical.
No,
with
that
it.
first answer was really great. Honestly, I think the question kind of
It's very
needs
open.
a philosophical answer almost.
That's the
yeah.
goal.
Well, and I'm very minimalist when it comes to life. So like, I'm a simple guy. Like, it doesn't take a lot to make me happy. So just be happy is
That's the goal.
the easiest lasting legacy I think there is. So take
I
steps
love
to be
that.
happy.
I agree. Well, thank you, man, for coming onto the show. I'm glad we can catch you in between your travels and before the craziness happens. I can't wait to watch it unfold. Links to his personal social media will be in the description below. Thank you for tuning in to the Lasting Legacy podcast. Check us out anywhere you get your podcasts. Good night.
The outro was way better than the intro.